Now we will go to the gospel, which is Matthew 14, 13 through 21.
Okay. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. The crowds heard of this and followed him on foot from their towns. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowd, his heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place and it is already late. Dismiss the crowd so they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "There is no need for them to go away. Give them some food yourselves." But they said to him, 5 loaves and 2 fish are all we have here." Then he said, "Bring them here to me." And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up the fragments left over, 12 wicker baskets full. Those who ate were about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. The gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So, right off the bat, the 5,000 men, so figure 5,000 women too, and maybe 2 kids each. That's a minimum of 20,000. And those were probably bigger families because they had bigger families then. It might have been as many as 30 or 40,000 people or more.
A lot.
And so this is a tremendous miracle, right? I mean, that's right off the bat. But it starts out when Jesus heard the death of John the Baptist. So that's his cousin, right? That's his cousin. And he knew John was a very holy and righteous man and a prophet, the greatest prophet. That he was the greatest man. Jesus called him the greatest man, at that point. And so, so what did he do? He withdrew and prayed in solitude. And he must have had sorrow at that point. Even though he knew where he was going, he's human, right? So, when you lose somebody, there's sorrow. You may know, they were a good person, they were a holy person, but there's still a loss. It's a tremendous. What's that?
They
Yeah.
grown up together.
Mary visited Elizabeth, so they obviously had a close relationship. So that was probably the case, and so there was a loss, and so Jesus is perfectly human, so he would have experienced that loss in a very deep manner, and so he goes away to be quiet, and this vast crowd followed him on foot. So he took a boat across, and they went around on foot all the way around the lake. So that, that's some dedication there, right? So when you look at this, Jesus' heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured their sick. So immediately, anybody who was sick, he healed. So he had miracles of healing. And then he sees how hungry they are. And the disciples, they're being practical. They're like, well, it's late at night, and all these people have to get something to eat. So we better tell them to get out of here. It's time to go. It's go find yourself some food. And but Jesus says, there is no need for them to go away. Give them the food yourself. They're like, well, we're not. I'm not Bill Gates or Warren Buffett. I'm not sure how I'm going to come up with the money or the food to get this. We're not Walmart. So, this is, when you think about it, we have such an abundance here, but we don't even think about having enough food. But during that time, they would have to work 10 or 11 hours just to have enough food for that day. And so we can't even conceive of that. That's what technology has done for us, is that we have wonderful farmers like Pete, and they, produce a lot of crops, so one person can produce enough for maybe 100 or 200 or 300 people. That wasn't the case at this time, where they'd have to work and struggle to get enough means, so that they could even have food for that day. And so Jesus already knew what he was going to do. And what do they say? They said they have 5 loaves and 2 fish. So this miracle is the only miracle that's included with the resurrection in all 4 Gospels. Right? So you have different stories in the Gospels, but this one is in all of them. I kind of like it in one of the other versions where he says, hey, this boy has 5 loaves and 2 fish, because there's a little bit of humor in there. It's like, oh yeah, what are we going to do with this?
Right.
You know, it's kind of like almost like a sarcastic, well, I got a couple fish here, and think of a couple sardines and a little cake, and you got 40,000 people out there. Jesus says, bring them here to me. And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. And this is kind of like in Exodus, they had people in groups. But there's, if you look at these verbs, they're the same ones that are kind of in the Eucharist. Take, bless, break, and give, right? Jesus takes, blesses, breaks, and gives. He said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. And this is amazing. I don't know if I'll share something that happened. This was actually, I'll share something. It happened at an event once where we had pizza. And that pizza box, I don't know how, it just never ran out of pizza. We kept giving pizza. It was at an event where it was a Holy Spirit event, and we had a stack of pizza, but there was so many people, and we just keep opening the box and giving out pizza. I'm like, where did all this pizza coming from? But I mean, imagine doing that for 40,000 people.
Yeah, right.
And then you get to the end, and then you have 12. And these, when they talk about wicker baskets, we're talking about baskets that would have been very big. I mean, it would have been huge.
A lot of bread.
A lot, right? And so that would symbolize the 12 tribes of Israel, right? And that's mentioned in another account. So nothing is wasted, right? So,
I mean, what else could they ask for? He fed them, he gave them drink, and he cured the sick.
exactly.
What else do you need?
And this ties back to the first reading in Isaiah 55, where he came, you know, he teaches them, he feeds them, he cures them. Nobody had to pay, right? Everybody was satisfied, and there was left over. And that's the abundance of God. That's how gracious he is. God supplies for what we need, right? And so he supplies for what we need physically, but also spiritually. And that's why he has a church. That's why we're here, right? God is supplying what we need spiritually, because if you go through your life and you're not being fed spiritually, your life can become a disaster. And I know a lot of people that if you don't have God in your life, what do you have? Well, you fill it with something.
You got nothing.
Exactly. You don't have nothing. You fill it with the things of the world. You know, sometimes people fill it with drugs and alcohol, sex and power and glory, and you know, I mean, anything you try to put to fill that hole, but you're going to have an emptiness, right? And there's just that emptiness in your life, and life has no purpose. Life has no meaning. And that's, you know, and it just becomes, you know, what's the purpose of living?
Yeah.
They cut that off too early, because in the gospel it talks about they collected the fragments and they had 12 baskets.
Yep, that's what 12 wicker baskets full. Yeah, and then they have, and that's where, I mean, when you think about that, that's a lot. You know, I mean, so they started out with just 5 little loaves in these wicker baskets. I once saw like drawings of it, and they would have been like half this table, you know, I mean, so it would have taken probably 2 people to carry. And so you have a great amount, I mean, and so nothing is lost and nothing is wasted either. But we see everybody ate till they were full. It's not like you're going to have one little, you know, like a little snack. They ate, you know, they probably ate a pizza each. When you think about it, I mean, they were hungry. If this was your only meal all day, you're going to keep eating. especially if it's food from God. That would have been the best bread and the best fish. I would have had as much as I could. I would have ate for days. I would have ate more than my dog. My dog seeing a deer. Exactly, it would have been beautiful. So, anyways, I think this is. Anybody have any questions on this? And you see the tie here to the Eucharist, and you see the tie with Isaiah, how he's giving, and you see how the hand of the Lord feeds us. He answers all our needs, and then the providence and just the graciousness of God. And we can trust in him. But I think the one thing I want you to pull from Romans 8 is that there is that big misconception where they say they can't lose their salvation. And they use Romans 8, this particular verse, to say that's why. But nowhere in here does it say that we can't choose. We can choose sin. We can choose hell. And we have a free will, and so we can choose not God. And so I think that kind of ties it all together, but we don't want to go down, and have the error, like St. Peter said. Many take the readings of St. Paul and twist them to their own destruction.